The year was 2387, and space around the Outer Rim territories looked peaceful. Stars dotted the black sky like tiny diamonds, and most ships moved along their routes without trouble. This was the edge of human space, where Earth's patrol ships kept watch for any signs of danger. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES-8, looking out at the stars through the main viewing screen. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many years of service. The Defiant was his ship, and he knew every part of it like his own home. To anyone looking from the outside, the ship seemed ordinary. It was not too big, not too small, and its weapons looked standard for a human patrol vessel. "All systems running normal, Captain," said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes from our station. She was Jake's second in command, a smart woman with short brown hair who had served with him for 3 years. Lisa always kept track of everything happening on the ship, and Jake trusted her completely. "Good to hear," Jake replied, walking over to check the navigation display. The Defiant was making its regular patrol route along the border between human space and the territories controlled by other alien races. It was usually quiet work, but Jake knew that quiet could change very quickly. In space, Chief Engineer Ben Carter looked up from his console near the back of the bridge. He was a big man with strong hands who could fix anything on the ship. Ben had been working on ships for 20 years, and he knew the Defiant better than anyone else. "Power levels are steady, Captain. Everything looks good down in the engine room." Amy Rodriguez, the communications officer, sat at her station, monitoring all the radio channels. She was young but very good at her job, and she could speak several alien languages. "No unusual traffic today, sir. Just the normal merchant ships and transport vessels." Jake nodded and walked back to his captain's chair. The Defiant had been patrolling this area for 6 months, and they had only encountered a few minor problems. Most alien ships respected the boundaries of human space, and there had been no serious incidents. Humans had been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years now, and most species got along well enough. But Jake knew that not all aliens were friendly. The Vrex Collective had been testing human borders for the past year, sending scout ships to see how humans would react. The Vrex were a powerful military force in the galaxy, and they believed they were superior to most other species. Their ships were large and heavily armed, and they were not afraid to use force when they wanted something. "Captain, I'm picking up a ship on long-range sensors," Amy said, looking at her screen with a frown. "It's big, and it's heading straight for us." Jake stood up and walked over to her station. "Can you tell what kind of ship it is?" Amy worked with her controls for a moment, then looked up with concern. "It's a Vrex, sir. A battlecruiser. The computer says it's the Devourer, one of their main warships." Lisa moved to the tactical station and began checking the ship's weapons and shields. "They're not supposed to be this deep in human space, Captain. This is clearly inside our territory." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. The Vrex had been pushing boundaries, but they had never sent a battlecruiser this far into human space before. "How long until they reach us?" "About 20 minutes at their current speed," Amy answered. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them we have a Vrex battlecruiser in Sector 7, and we're moving to intercept." Amy began typing the message while Jake thought about what to do. The Defiant was a good ship, but it was just a patrol vessel. The Vrex battlecruiser was much larger and had more weapons. If the Vrex wanted to fight, it would be a very uneven battle. "Message sent, Captain," Amy reported. "Earth Command acknowledges and says they're sending backup, but the nearest ships are 4 hours away." Jake nodded grimly. 4 hours was a long time in space combat. If the Vrex wanted to cause trouble, the Defiant would have to handle it alone until help arrived. "Set course to intercept," Jake ordered. "Battle stations, but keep weapons powered down." We don't want to start a fight, if we can avoid it. The bridge lights dimmed slightly as the ship went to battle alert. Red warning lights blinked on control panels, and throughout the ship, crew members moved to their combat positions. Jake had drilled his crew many times for situations like this, and they all knew what to do. Ben Carter checked his engineering displays and made sure all systems were ready. All power systems stable, Captain. Shields and weapons ready to activate on your command. Thank you, Ben, Jake said, settling back into his captain's chair. Lisa, what do we know about the Devourer? Lisa pulled up information on her screen. It's commanded by Admiral Zeke Tar, one of their top military leaders. The ship has heavy plasma cannons, particle beam weapons, and strong shields. It carries about 800 Vrex warriors. Jake studied the tactical display showing both ships. The Vrex vessel was 3 times the size of the Defiant and had enough firepower to destroy a small planet. But Jake was not worried about the size difference. He knew something that the Vrex did not know, something that no alien species knew about human ships. Captain, the Vrex ship is slowing down, Amy reported. They're coming to a stop about 50,000 kilometers away. They want to talk, Jake said. Open a channel when they call. A few minutes later, Amy looked up from her console. Incoming transmission from the Vrex ship, sir. Put it on the main screen, Jake ordered. The viewing screen flickered and showed the bridge of the Vrex battle cruiser. Admiral Zeke Tar appeared in the center of the screen. He was a tall alien with gray skin, 4 arms, and cold yellow eyes. His uniform was covered with medals and symbols of rank. Human vessel, Admiral Zeke Tar said in a deep voice. You are in violation of Vrex territorial claims. Surrender your ship for inspection or be destroyed. Jake stood up and faced the screen calmly. Admiral, you are in human space. According to the Galactic Council treaties, you have no authority here. I suggest you return to your own territory. Admiral Zektar's eyes narrowed. Humans are weak. Your small patrol ship cannot threaten a Vrex battle cruiser. Stand down immediately. I'm afraid I cannot do that, Admiral, Jake replied. This is human space, and I have a duty to protect it. The alien admiral looked angry, but then he seemed to get an idea. Commander Valkyris, he said to someone off-screen, scan the human vessel. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. Jake felt his heart beat faster. The Vrex were going to scan his ship, and when they did, they would discover something that would change everything. He looked at Lisa, who had heard the order and understood what it meant. Captain, Lisa said quietly, should we raise shields to block the scan? Jake thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, let them scan us. It's time they learned the truth. On the Vrex ship, Commander Velcris began the scanning procedure. The Vrex had the best scanning technology in the galaxy, and they could see through most types of shielding. In a few minutes, they would know everything about the human ship. Jake sat back in his chair and waited. For 50 years, humanity had kept its secrets. For 50 years, they had appeared weak and harmless to the rest of the galaxy. But now, because of one scan, everything was about to change. The monster was about to wake up. Commander Velcris worked at his scanning station on the Vrex battlecruiser, his 6 fingers moving quickly over the controls. He was the best science officer in the Vrex fleet, and he had scanned thousands of ships from different species. Human ships were usually simple to analyze. They had basic hull materials, standard energy systems, and weapons that were far behind Vrex technology. Beginning deep scan of the human vessel, Velcris announced to Admiral Zektar. This should only take a few minutes. The scanning beam reached out from the Devourer toward the Defiant. It was invisible to the human eye, but it could see through almost any type of shielding or armor. The beam touched the hull of the human ship and began to penetrate deeper, looking for weapons, power systems, and structural details. On the Defiant, Ben Carter noticed the scanning beam immediately. Warning lights appeared on his engineering console, and he called out to Captain Morrison. "Captain, they're scanning us with a deep probe. It's getting through our outer hull." Jake Morrison nodded calmly. He had expected this. "Let them scan, Ben. Don't try to block it." Ben looked confused, but followed orders. "Yes, sir." All systems open to their scan. Back on the wreck ship, Commander Velcris watched his screens as data began to come in from the human vessel. At first, everything looked normal. The ship's hull appeared to be made of standard metal alloys, and the basic structure seemed typical for a human patrol ship. But then the scan went deeper, and Velcris saw something that made him stop breathing. "Admiral," Velcris said in a quiet voice, "I'm getting some strange readings from the human ship." "What kind of strange readings?" Admiral Zektar asked, walking over to look at the scanner displays. Velcris pointed to his screen, where numbers and symbols were scrolling past. "The whole material is not what it appears to be, sir. My scans show that it's made of something I've never seen before. The computer cannot identify it." Admiral Zektar frowned. "Run the scan again. Your equipment must be malfunctioning." "I've run it 3 times, sir. The results are the same." Velcris looked up at his commander with worried eyes. "Admiral, this human ship is not made of normal materials. The hull seems to be some kind of adaptive metal that can change its properties." The Admiral pushed Velcris aside and looked at the display himself. The readings showed that the human ship's hull was composed of materials that should not exist. It was stronger than the best Vrex armor, but it was also lighter and more flexible. The metal seemed to be alive, constantly repairing itself, adapting to different conditions. "Continue the scan," Admiral Zektar ordered. "I want to know everything about this ship." Velcris obeyed, sending the scanning beam deeper into the human vessel. What he found next made his hands shake. "Sir, the power readings are impossible. This ship is generating more energy than our battle cruiser, but I can't find the source." "That's impossible," the Admiral said. "Look at the size of that ship. It's tiny compared to ours." But the scanner did not lie. The human ship was producing massive amounts of energy from a source that the Vrex technology could not identify. The power core seemed to be based on principles of physics that the Vrex did not understand. On the Defiant, Amy Rodriguez noticed that the Vrex scanning was becoming more intense. "Captain, they're really digging deep into our systems. They're trying to scan our weapons and power core." Jake Morrison smiled slightly. "Let them look, Amy. They're about to learn something very interesting." Lisa Hayes checked her tactical display and saw that the Vrex were focusing their scan on the ship's weapon systems. "Captain, they're scanning her armament. Should I power up our defenses?" "Not yet," Jake said. "Let's see what they make of what they find." Back on the Vrex ship, Commander Velcris was staring at his screen in complete shock. "Admiral, I don't understand what I'm seeing. The human ship's weapons are not like anything in our database." "Show me," Admiral Zektar demanded. Velcris transferred the scan results to the main screen. Where the Vrex expected to see simple laser cannons or basic missile launchers, they found weapon systems that seemed to come from another universe. The scanners detected something called kinetic accelerators that could fire projectiles at incredible speeds. There were gravitational displacement weapons that could bend space itself, and quantum barrier generators that could create shields stronger than anything the Vrex had ever seen. "This is impossible," Admiral Zektar said, his voice shaking. "Humans don't have technology like this. They're one of the weakest species in the galaxy." But the scanner results were clear. The human ship was armed with weapons that were far beyond anything the Vrex possessed. More frightening still, the ship seemed to have defensive systems that could stop any attack the Vrex might make. "Admiral," Velcris said quietly, "I don't think this is a patrol ship. The technology I'm seeing here is more advanced than anything we have. This ship could probably destroy our entire fleet." Admiral Zektar refused to believe it. Humans are weak. They've been in the galaxy for 50 years, and they've never shown any advanced technology. They trade with us, they negotiate with us, and they've never threatened anyone. "But sir," Velcris said, "what if they were hiding their true capabilities? What if they've been pretending to be weak while secretly developing advanced weapons?" Thought sent a chill through Admiral Zektar's body. If humans had been deceiving the galaxy for 50 years, if they had been hiding their true strength, then the Vrex had made a terrible mistake by coming here. On the Defiant, Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to the Vrex ship. "Admiral, Zektar, I believe you've completed your scan. What did you find?" The Vrex Admiral appeared on the screen, but he looked very different now. His confident expression was gone, replaced by uncertainty and fear. "Human Captain, your ship is not what it appears to be." "No, it's not," Jake agreed calmly. "Would you like to know what it really is?" Admiral Zektar said nothing, but his yellow eyes were wide with worry. Jake continued in the same calm voice. "This is the UES Defiant, a standard patrol vessel of the Earth Defense Force. It's one of our older ships, actually. We've been using this design for about 10 years. Older ships?" Admiral Zektar repeated. "If this is an older design, then what do your newer ships look like?" Jake smiled. "That's classified information, Admiral. But I can tell you that the Defiant is considered a light patrol vessel in our fleet. Our real warships are much more capable." The Vrex Admiral felt his legs go weak. If this small human ship was just a patrol vessel, and if it had technology that was beyond Vrex understanding, then what must the human battle fleet look like? "Admiral," Commander Velcris said from his station, "I'm detecting more human ships approaching. They're coming from multiple directions." Admiral Zektar looked at the tactical display and saw that human vessels were appearing on sensors all around them. Ships that had been hidden or cloaked were now making themselves visible. The Vrex had walked into a trap. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Zektar said, trying to keep his voice steady, "what do you want?" Jake Morrison stood up and faced the screen. "What I want, Admiral, is for you to return to Vrex space and stop testing our borders. For 50 years, humanity has tried to maintain peace with all species. We've been patient, we've been diplomatic, and we've avoided conflict whenever possible. But you scanned our ship," Jake continued. "You've seen what we're capable of. You now know that humanity is not as weak as we've appeared to be. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?" Admiral Zektar realized that he was facing a choice that would determine the fate of his entire species. The humans had been hiding their true strength for 50 years, and now that strength was being revealed. The Vrex had awakened something that they were not prepared to fight. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Zektar said slowly, "I think we need to discuss this situation very carefully." Jake Morrison nodded. "I think you're right, Admiral. But first, you need to understand something. You've seen one of our patrol ships. You've seen what we're capable of. But you've only seen the beginning. The scan that was meant to reveal human weakness had instead revealed human strength. The Vrex had expected to find a helpless prey, but they had discovered a predator that had been patiently waiting in the shadows. The monster was awakening, and the galaxy would never be the same." Captain Jake Morrison looked at the Vrex Admiral on the main screen and made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. For 50 years, humanity had hidden its true strength. For 50 years, they had played the role of peaceful traders and harmless explorers. But now, with their secret exposed, it was time to show the universe what humans were really capable of. "Admiral Zektar," Jake said in a calm voice, "you scanned our ship. You now know what we're capable of. But you've made a mistake. You've awakened something that was better left sleeping." Admiral Zektar tried to maintain his composure, but his hands were shaking. "Captain Morrison, I think there has been a misunderstanding. The Vrex Collective does not wish to fight with humanity." "Really?" Jake asked, raising an eyebrow. "Then why did you bring a battle cruiser into human space? Why did you demand that we surrender our ship? Why did you threaten to destroy us?" The Vrex Admiral had no good answer. He had come here expecting to find a weak human patrol ship that he could easily intimidate. Instead, he had discovered that he was facing an enemy that could destroy his entire fleet without breaking a sweat. Jake turned to Amy Rodriguez at her communications station. "Amy, send a coded message to Earth Command. Tell them the masquerade is over. Initiate Protocol Omega." Amy's eyes widened slightly. Protocol Omega was something she had heard about in training, but she had never thought it would actually be used. "Message sent, Captain. Earth Command acknowledges and confirms Protocol Omega is now active." "What is Protocol Omega?" "Admiral," Zektar asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. Jake smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Protocol Omega is the end of humanity's peaceful facade, Admiral. For 50 years, we pretended to be weak because we hoped that peace could be maintained without showing our true strength. But you've shattered that hope." On the Defiant, Ben Carter watched his engineering displays as new systems came online. Systems that had been hidden deep within the ship's structure were now activating. The ship's hull began to change, with sections sliding apart to reveal weapon systems that had been concealed for decades. "Captain," Ben reported, "all hidden systems are now active. The ship is transforming to its true configuration." Lisa Hayes watched her tactical display in amazement as the Defiant revealed its real nature. Weapons that had been hidden in the hull were extending outward. The ship's energy output was increasing to levels that would have seemed impossible just minutes before. The small patrol vessel was becoming something much more dangerous. "Admiral," Commander Velkris said from his station on the Vrex ship, "the human vessel is changing. It's becoming something completely different." Admiral Zektar watched in horror as the harmless-looking patrol ship transformed into a technological marvel. Weapon systems that defied understanding were emerging from hidden compartments. The ship's hull was reconfiguring itself, becoming larger and more angular. Energy readings were climbing to levels that the Vrex sensors could barely measure. "This is impossible," Admiral Zektar whispered. "No ship can transform like this." But the evidence was right in front of him. The human ship was not just revealing hidden weapons. It was completely changing its structure. The technology required to do this was beyond anything the Vrex had ever imagined. Jake Morrison opened another communication channel, this time to the entire galaxy. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. I am broadcasting on all frequencies to every species in the Galactic Council. Today, humanity ends its policy of concealment. Across the galaxy, alien leaders stopped what they were doing to listen to the human captain's words. On dozens of worlds, in hundreds of space stations, thousands of ships heard the message that would change everything. For 50 years, Jake continued, humanity has maintained the illusion of being a minor power in the galaxy. We did this not because we were weak, but because we hoped that peace could be maintained without revealing our true capabilities. We wanted to be friends with all species, to trade peacefully, and to avoid conflict. In the Korathian Empire, Emperor Drakethul listened to the human message with growing concern. The Korathians had always considered themselves the strongest military power in the galaxy, but now a small human patrol ship was talking about hidden capabilities. But today, Jake's voice continued, the Vrex Collective has forced our hand. They have scanned one of our ships and discovered our secrets. They have threatened us with destruction and demanded our surrender. They have made it clear that peace is not possible while we remain hidden. On the Zentari homeworld, the High Council gathered in emergency session. The Zentari had been allies with humanity for 20 years, but they had never suspected that. Their human friends were hiding such advanced technology. Therefore, Jake announced, humanity is revealing its true strength to the galaxy. What you are about to see is not an act of aggression. It is a warning. We are showing you what we are capable of so that you will understand why peace is the only acceptable option. Admiral Zektar watched his tactical display as more human ships appeared on sensors. Vessels that had been hidden throughout the star system were now revealing themselves. Ships that had appeared to be simple cargo vessels were transforming into advanced warships. Space stations that had seemed to be harmless trading posts were unfolding into massive weapons platforms. How many ships do you have? Admiral Zektar asked in a whisper. Enough, Jake answered simply. Admiral, every human ship you've ever seen, every space station you've ever visited, every installation you've ever scanned, they were all hiding their true nature. We've been preparing for this day for 50 years. The transformation was happening throughout human space. Ships that had been carrying peaceful cargo were revealing that they were actually carrying weapons of incredible power. Mining stations were opening to show that they were armed fortresses. Even civilian transports were displaying hidden military capabilities. Amy Rodriguez monitored communications from across the galaxy as the news spread. Captain, we're receiving messages from dozens of species. Some are demanding explanations, others are expressing fear, and a few are asking for reassurance. We'll address their concerns later, Jake said. Right now, we need to deal with Admiral Zektar and his battle cruiser. Ben Carter looked up from his engineering station with a grin. Captain, all systems are now fully active. The Defiant is operating at maximum capability. Jake nodded and turned back to the main screen. Admiral, you wanted to see what a human ship was capable of. Allow me to demonstrate. The Defiant's main weapon system came online, a device that the Vrex had never seen before. It was called a gravitational displacement cannon, and it could manipulate the fabric of space itself. The weapon did not fire energy or projectiles. Instead, it created a field that could redirect any force back at its source. Admiral, Jake said calmly, please target your main weapons at our ship. Admiral Zektar was confused. You want me to fire at you? Yes. Please target us with your most powerful weapon and fire when ready. The Vrex Admiral hesitated, but his pride overcame his caution. He ordered his weapons officer to target the human ship with the Devourer's main plasma cannon. The weapon charged up and fired a beam of energy that could destroy a small moon. The plasma beam struck the Defiant's gravitational field, and something amazing happened. The energy was caught by the field, redirected, and sent back at the Vrex ship. The Devourer's own weapon struck its hull, overloading its shields and causing systems to fail throughout the ship. Impossible, Admiral Zektar breathed. You turned our own weapon against us. That's just one of our capabilities, Jake said. We have weapons that can stop time, shields that can exist in multiple dimensions, and engines that can fold space. We've been developing this technology for 50 years, while you thought we were harmless traders. Commander Velkris was frantically checking his sensors. Admiral, I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout human space. They have weapons platforms, battle stations, and fleets that we never knew existed. Admiral Zektar realized that the Vrex Collective had made the worst mistake in their history. They had challenged a species that was not only more advanced than they were, but had been studying them for decades. Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange had been an opportunity for humans to gather intelligence. Captain Morrison, Admiral Zektar said, his voice barely above a whisper. "What do you want from us?" Jake Morrison stood up and looked directly at the Vrex Admiral. "I want you to understand something very important, Admiral. Humanity never wanted to be the dominant military power in the galaxy. We preferred to stay hidden, to let others think they were in control. But you've forced us to reveal ourselves. Now that you know what we're capable of," Jake continued, "you have a choice. You can return to your own space, respect our borders, and live in peace with humanity. Or you can try to fight us and discover just how powerful we really are." Admiral Zektar looked at his tactical display, which showed human ships surrounding his battlecruiser. Ships that could destroy his vessel without effort. Ships that represented a technology and capability that the Vrex could not match. "We choose peace," Admiral Zektar said quickly. "The Vrex Collective chooses peace with humanity." Jake nodded. "Good, but Admiral, remember to..." The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity's true military might was revealed. What had started as a simple border incident between a human patrol ship and a Vrex battlecruiser had become the most significant event in galactic history. Species that had considered themselves powerful suddenly realized they were looking at technology that made their own weapons seem like primitive tools. On the bridge of the Defiant, Captain Jake Morrison received reports from across human space. The transformation was complete. Every human vessel, every space station, every installation had revealed its true nature. The peaceful trading ships were now showing their hidden weapons. The mining stations had become armed fortresses. Even the scientific research vessels were displaying military capabilities that defied understanding. "Captain," Amy Rodriguez reported, "from her communication station, we're receiving messages from the Galactic Council. They're demanding an emergency session to address the situation." Jake nodded. "Tell them that Earth will send a representative. But first, we need to finish our business with Admiral Zektar." The Vrex battlecruiser Devourer hung in space, its shields down and its weapons offline. The feedback from their own weapon had damaged many of their systems, and they were effectively helpless. Admiral Zektar sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed human ships surrounding his vessel. "Admiral," Commander Valkyris said quietly, "I'm detecting more human vessels approaching. They're coming from directions we didn't even know had human presence." Admiral Zektar looked at the display and saw that human ships were appearing everywhere. Not just patrol vessels like the Defiant, but massive battleships that dwarfed his own cruiser. Ships that seemed to be built using technology that the Vrex had never seen before. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Zektar said over the communication channel, "how many ships do you have?" Jake Morrison smiled slightly. "Admiral, every human ship you've ever encountered in the past 50 years was hiding its true nature. Every cargo vessel, every passenger transport, every scientific survey ship, they were all capable of becoming warships when necessary." The revelation hit Admiral Zektar like a physical blow. The Vrex had been studying human ships for decades, trying to understand their capabilities. They had scanned hundreds of human vessels and had always found them to be lightly armed and poorly defended. But now he realized that every scan had been showing them exactly what the humans wanted them to see. "You've been deceiving us for 50 years, Admiral Zektar said, his voice filled with anger and fear. "We've been protecting you for 50 years, Jake corrected. "Admiral, do you know what would have happened if we had revealed our true capabilities from the beginning? Every species in the galaxy would have allied against us. There would have been wars, destruction, and countless deaths." Ben Carter looked up from his engineering station. "Captain, I'm getting reports from Earth Command. The full fleet is now operational and ready for deployment." Jake nodded. "Thank you, Ben. How many ships are we talking about?" Over 10,000 vessels of various classes, sir. From patrol ships like the Defiant to dreadnoughts that are 5 kilometers long. All of them equipped with technology that most species can't even comprehend. Admiral Ziktar heard this conversation and felt his blood turn cold. 10,000 ships, all more advanced than his best vessels. The Vrex Collective had about 3,000 ships in their entire fleet, and they were considered one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Captain Morrison, Admiral Ziktar said, "If you have had such overwhelming power for 50 years, why did you hide it? Why did you pretend to be weak?" Jake Morrison turned to face the screen, his expression serious. "Because, Admiral, we learned something from our own history. Power without restraint leads to destruction. We developed our technology not to conquer others, but to protect ourselves and those we care about." Lisa Hayes pulled up a star chart on her tactical display. "Captain, I'm showing friendly forces in every major star system. We have ships positioned around every alien homeworld, every major trade route, and every strategic location in the galaxy." Admiral Ziktar realized that the humans had not just been hiding their strength, they had been positioning themselves for total strategic dominance. While other species had been focused on their own territories, humans had been quietly placing their forces everywhere. "You've been preparing for war for 50 years, Admiral Ziktar accused. "No, Admiral," Jake replied. "We've been preparing for peace for 50 years. There's a difference." On Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center of the Global Defense Headquarters. She was a stern woman with silver hair and cold blue eyes who had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. Around her, dozens of officers monitored the situation throughout the galaxy. "Admiral," one of her staff officers reported, "all alien fleets are standing down. No hostile movements detected." "Good," Admiral Sullivan said. "What about the political situation?" "The Galactic Council is in emergency session. Most species are expressing shock and concern, but no one is talking about military action. They're all too afraid of our capabilities." Admiral Sullivan nodded. "Fear is not what we want, but it's better than war. Send a message to all fleet commanders. We are not to be seen as aggressors. We respond to threats, but we do not initiate conflicts." Back in space, Captain Morrison was explaining humanity's philosophy to Admiral Ziktar. "Admiral, humans develop differently from other species. While you focused on building bigger weapons and stronger ships, we focused on efficiency and innovation. Our ships may be smaller than yours," Jake continued, "but they're more capable. Our weapons may seem simple, but they're more effective. Our defenses may look weak, but they're more adaptable." Ben Carter demonstrated this by showing Admiral Ziktar how the Defiant's hull could repair itself. The ship's adaptive armor could not only fix damage instantly, but it could also change its properties to become resistant to different types of attacks. "This is impossible," Admiral Ziktar said, watching the human ship's hull shift and change. "Metal cannot behave like this." "It's not metal as you understand it," Ben explained. "It's a programmable matter that can restructure itself at the molecular level. We've been developing this technology for 30 years. Amy Rodriguez received a priority message from Earth Command. "Captain, I'm getting word that other species are beginning to realize the scope of our capabilities. The Korathine Empire has discovered that their human trade partners are actually heavily armed battleships. The Centauri Federation has found out that our research stations in their territory are actually military bases." Jake nodded grimly. "The secret is out completely now. There's no going back." Admiral Ziktar was trying to process everything he was learning. "Captain Morrison, you said that the Defiant is just a patrol vessel. What do the real warships look like?" Jake Morrison exchanged a look with Lisa Hayes before answering. "Amy, Show Admiral Ziktar the Titan-class dreadnought that just arrived in this system. The main screen switched to show a massive human warship that had just dropped out of hyperspace. The ship was enormous, stretching over 5 kilometers in length. Its hull was covered with weapon systems that the Vrex had never seen before. And energy readings from the vessel were off the scale. This is the UE Leviathan, Jake explained. It's one of our newer designs. The ship you're looking at could destroy an entire planet if necessary, but its primary purpose is to protect inhabited worlds from threats. Admiral Ziktar stared at the massive warship in complete shock. How many ships like this do you have? Classified, Jake replied. But I can tell you that we have enough firepower to defend every world in the galaxy, or to destroy any species that threatens galactic peace. Commander Velchris was frantically scanning the new human ship, but his instruments could barely understand what they were detecting. Admiral, this vessel is using technology that shouldn't exist. It has weapons that can manipulate time, shields that exist in multiple dimensions, and engines that can move the ship faster than light without using hyperspace. How is this possible? Admiral Ziktar asked. No species has technology like this. Humans think differently, Jake explained. While other species were content to improve existing technology, we asked fundamental questions about the nature of reality. We studied the deepest principles of physics and found ways to manipulate space, time, and matter itself. Dr. Sarah Kim, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, appeared on a communication channel from Earth. She was a middle-aged woman with short black hair and intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Admiral Ziktar, I've been studying alien technology for 25 years. Every trade agreement, every cultural exchange, every diplomatic meeting gave us access to your science. We didn't copy your technology, Dr. Kim continued. We studied it to understand its weaknesses. We learned how your weapons work so we could build defenses against them. We analyzed your ship designs so we could create vessels that could defeat them. Admiral Ziktar felt a growing sense of dread. You've been preparing to fight us for decades. We've been preparing to defend ourselves, Dr. Kim corrected. There's a difference. We never wanted to fight anyone, but we needed to be ready in case someone forced a conflict upon us. Amy Rodriguez received. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any meeting in the organization's history. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Hall on the neutral world of Nexus Prime, their faces showing fear, confusion, and anger. The revelation of humanity's hidden strength had shaken the foundation of galactic politics. Ambassador Dan Foster walked into the council chamber with calm confidence. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady eyes who had served as Earth's representative for 15 years. Behind him walked a small group of human advisors, including Dr. Sarah Kim and Admiral Kate Sullivan, who had come to answer the galaxy's questions. The chamber fell silent as the humans took their seats. Every alien representative stared at them with new eyes, knowing that these seemingly harmless diplomats represented the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Chancellor Mordak of the Korathian Empire stood up first. He was a large alien, with red skin and multiple eyes, who commanded respect throughout the galaxy. Ambassador Foster, he said in a deep voice, humanity has deceived this council for 50 years. You have hidden weapons of incredible power while pretending to be peaceful traders. How can we ever trust you again? Dan Foster stood up slowly and looked around the chamber at all the assembled representatives. Chancellor Mordak, members of the Galactic Council, I understand your concern, but I ask you to consider this. For 50 years, humanity has had the power to conquer every world in this galaxy. For 50 years, we could have destroyed any species that opposed us. But what did we do instead? He paused to let his words sink in before continuing. We traded with you. We shared our culture with you. We helped build hospitals and schools on your worlds. We sent aid when disasters struck your planets. We did everything we could to promote peace and cooperation. Senator Velanara of the Centauri Federation spoke next. She was a slender alien, with blue skin and large eyes, who was known for her intelligence. But you lied to us, Ambassador. You made us believe you were weak, when you were actually the strongest species in the galaxy. We concealed our military capabilities, Dan admitted, but we never lied about our intentions. Every promise we made about peace, every treaty we signed, every agreement we honored, those were all genuine. Our desire for peace has always been real. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood up and activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy-wide deployment of human forces. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to see something. These are the positions of human military assets throughout the galaxy. The display showed thousands of human ships and installations spread across every sector of known space. The aliens in the chamber gasped as they realized the scope of humanity's military presence. For 50 years, Admiral Sullivan continued, these forces have been protecting the galaxy from threats you never even knew existed. We've stopped asteroid impacts, prevented solar flares from destroying inhabited worlds, and eliminated dangerous space phenomena before they could harm anyone. Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward to explain humanity's technological philosophy. Members of the Council, humans develop technology differently from other species. While you focused on making bigger weapons and stronger ships, we focused on making smarter weapons and more efficient ships. She activated another display, showing the comparison between human and alien technology. Our ships may look smaller, but they can do things that your largest dreadnoughts cannot. Our weapons may seem simple, but they can defeat any defense system. You have. We achieved this not through brute force, but through understanding. Chancellor Mordak was still angry. Understanding built through deception. You studied our technology while hiding your own. You gathered intelligence while pretending to be our friends. We studied your technology to protect ourselves and others, Dr. Kim replied. Every weakness we found, we shared with you so you could fix it. Every flaw we discovered, we helped you correct. We used our knowledge to make the galaxy safer, not to gain advantage over you. Representative Zix Tal of the Silicon Collective spoke in their electronic voice. Ambassador Foster, what assurance do we have that humanity will not use its power to dominate the galaxy? Dan Foster smiled sadly. Representative Zix Tal, we've had that power for 50 years. If we wanted to dominate the galaxy, we would have done it already. The fact that you're all sitting here as free representatives of independent worlds is proof that humanity has no interest in conquest. Captain Jake Morrison appeared on a communication screen from his ship in the Outer Rim. Council members, 3 days ago, Devrex Collective sent a battle cruiser into human space with the intention of intimidating us. They scanned our ship, discovered our capabilities, and threatened to destroy us. We could have destroyed their entire fleet in response, Jake continued. Instead, we chose to reveal our strength and give them the opportunity to choose peace. That is who humanity is. We have the power to destroy, but we choose to protect. Admiral Ziktar appeared on another screen from his flagship, which was now safely back in Vrex space. Council members, I can confirm Captain Morrison's words. Humanity showed remarkable restraint when they could have easily destroyed my ship and my crew. They are not the conquerors we feared they might be. Senator, Velanara asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Ambassador Foster, what happens now? How does the galaxy move forward, knowing that humanity possesses such overwhelming power? Dan Foster looked around the chamber at all the worried faces. Senator, nothing fundamental has changed. Humanity still wants peace. We still want cooperation. We still want to trade with you, learn from you, and share the galaxy with you. The only thing that has changed, he continued, is that you now know we have the power to enforce that peace if necessary. You know that any species that chooses aggression will face consequences they cannot overcome. Dr. Sarah Kim added, members of the Council, humanity's technology gives us great power, but it also gives us great responsibility. We see ourselves as guardians of galactic peace, not as rulers of the galaxy. Chancellor Mordock was still skeptical. And if we refuse to accept humanity's role as guardian? What if some species choose to resist your authority? Admiral Sullivan answered with cold honesty. Then they will discover why we kept our capabilities hidden for 50 years. We hoped that revealed power would never be necessary. But now that our strength is known, we will use it to defend ourselves and our allies. Captain Morrison's image appeared again. Council members, yesterday the galaxy believed that military power was balanced among several strong species. Today you know that one species has the ability to defeat all others combined. You can choose to work with us to maintain peace, or you can choose to test our resolve. Representative Zixtal processed this information with their electronic mind. Ambassador Foster, you are essentially telling us that humanity now controls the galaxy, whether we accept it or not. No, Dan Foster replied firmly. We're telling you that humanity protects the galaxy, whether you accept it or not. There's a difference between control and protection. A ruler tells you what you must do, Dr. Sarah Kim explained. A guardian simply ensures that you can do what you choose to do safely. Humanity has no interest in governing other species. We simply want to make sure that no one can prevent others from living in peace. The debate continued for hours, but gradually the alien representatives began to understand humanity's position. The humans had revealed their power not to threaten others, but to warn potential aggressors that their aggression would fail. Valinara finally stood up and spoke for many in the chamber. Ambassador Foster, the Zentari Federation has been humanity's ally for 20 years. We have seen your commitment to peace and cooperation. If you say that your intentions have not changed, then we choose to trust you. One by one, other representatives began to voice similar sentiments. Some species were still fearful. Others were angry about the deception. But most recognized that humanity's restraint over 50 years was proof of their good intentions. Chancellor Mordock was among the last to speak. Ambassador Foster, the Korathian Empire does not like being deceived. But we acknowledge that humanity has shown remarkable restraint and wisdom. We agree to continue our alliance, but we expect complete honesty about your capabilities and in the future. You have it, Dan Foster promised. The age of concealment is over. From now on, humanity will be open about our military strength, but we will also continue to be open about our commitment to peace. As the session ended, the galaxy began to adjust to its new reality. Humanity had revealed itself as the dominant military power, but they had also demonstrated that they would use that power responsibly. The monster that had been awakened by a single scanning event was not a destroyer after all. It was a guardian that had been silently protecting the galaxy while allowing others to believe they were in control. Admiral Ziktar sent a final message to the Galactic Council from Vrex Space. Council members, 3 days ago I thought the Vrex Collective was one of the strongest military forces in the galaxy. Today I know that we are insects compared to humanity's power. But I also know that humanity chose to show us mercy when they could have chosen destruction. The galaxy is safer today than it was yesterday, he concluded. Not because we are stronger, but because we finally